Like there
There
was
was
like
different questions like after, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know which ones we're supposed to discuss.
I just went into the HOA instructions, and it
And
it
did
talks
those.
about needing a recorder and all that stuff, and then it
Yeah.
says be prepared to discuss. There's like 5 questions.
Okay, yeah, I did the okay. That's what I did too.
So
Yeah, I read
Okay.
the book, but like the questions that they ask, and the book like just talks about like it focus so much on the one that they are they were trying to approve, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It
mhm.
talks so much about it. Like it's all the focus is on that, like it's discussing, that. But it doesn't like the questions that is asked on the instruction is like no,
I feel like
it doesn't relate a lot.
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
Well, we'll probably go through and just share what we feel, kind of.
Yeah, 'cause I struggled answering these questions. I was hoping there was a lot of people so I could be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's what you guys said. So
Yeah.
mine are probably so random. But
Yeah.
was the first one the how do we achieve fairness?
For
Yeah, do
all.
we
Yeah.
want to just like assign the monitor, or like
Yeah, we should probably do
and summarize? I can do the summary. I haven't done the summary in a long time, or the other one.
Okay.
I can do it either. Doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm good. I mean, I've done the leader twice, but I can do it again if you guys want me to.
No, I don't think I have done the leader, so I can do that. The leader.
Okay.
I have done the summary before, but I don't think
Okay.
I have done the leader.
I think I've done the
We can
summary
do-
one.
I have 2. I think we all have at this point. So
Mm,
Okay.
I don't mind.
Doing the summary.
Yeah, I'll do the summary.
Okay.
Okay, sweet.
Well, let's start. So, Rochelle, welcome. We were just talking about like the questions that they were, in the HOA instructions. If we want to talk about that, or we just want to like also give our insights. And it always says at the end of the question that we don't really have to focus on just the questions, but we can give our insights of what what insights gained from the reading. So
Yeah.
up to you guys if you want to discuss some of the questions, or you just want to, talk about the insights that you gain.
I think if we follow the question, we'll get out all the stuff we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, let's just do that.
And we have been good at, like letting everybody talk and, being cautious about the time. So, I mean, how I see my screen is, Rochelle, Sean, Sydney. So if you want to like start, Rochelle, share with us.
Sure. So are we doing the first question? Is that how do we achieve fairness for all? Am I in the right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really hard question because it kind of depends on your definition and perspective of what fair is. It seems that like either way, one party is going to feel like they're being discriminated against, since the values and objectives of each party are in such direct opposition to each other. And so, the question, because yeah, I don't know. Did you guys have any insights on that, on how we achieve fairness for all regarding this?
I just remember in one of the videos it mentioned how we should defend our neighbor. So I was kind of thinking if we like all respected each other, we don't have to agree with each other, but not like mock each other or be rude to each other, then everyone kind of has an equal chance to share their thoughts and defend their religion. I guess that's kind of what I thought, but that one was tricky too because I don't know. But just letting everyone express their views and not getting in trouble for expressing them. Because, like, I mean, all of the different cases we read or whatever, like with the florist, she expressed her views and she got in trouble for it. So it makes me not want to say anything because I don't want to get sued. You know what I mean? So I think just respecting everyone, but you don't have to agree with it.
Yeah, going off that, I think the problem comes with like the personal interpretation that comes in with laws and things, like with the florist. there was nothing wrong with what she did, but then someone decided to get involved and make this big case out of it, probably for like, publicity, whatever. And it is hard to think about fairness for all, especially with religious freedom, because you want everyone to have the right to practice what they believe. But then it's like, where does the line come if they start doing some really extreme things, And it just kind of made me think about how when George Washington was setting up the country, he really didn't like the two-party system. He thought that it was just going to pit people against each other, let them promote their own personal agenda, and it was going to take away from like taking care of the nation as a whole. So I feel like if we're still going to have the parties, there needs to be better ways to like keep everybody in check. Like I thought there were until the last week or two. So there needs to be like less loopholes, I feel like, in personal interpretation to get what they want. But I don't know a good way to just go across the board and enforce that without making a big problem. So
I was just thinking, because most people used to believe in a moral standard, and there used to be like an absolute truth. I don't feel like we have that anymore. Like, I don't feel like we're one nation under God, and so I can see how they feel that it's discrimination. Like, if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in the Bible, for somebody to say, well, I don't feel comfortable, participating in your gay wedding, how is that different than saying, I don't feel comfortable participating in somebody black and white getting married because I don't think blacks should marry whites? Or like, I can see how it seems like discriminate. Well, we don't serve blacks, we don't hate them, and we're not mean to them. We don't feel comfortable having them in our store because, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I can see how, because there's no like absolute truth or moral standard, then fairness becomes, I don't know, a tricky thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Julie.
No, it's okay. That's fine. Before, sometimes we lose our train of thought if we don't like say it. It happens to me all the time. Now, I just thinking when I was reading the question, uh, um, the last page before the chapter 4, it says the future of tolerance. So the author talks a little bit about what it could help, a little bit of fairness for all. I mean, it doesn't give a specific solution, but it says that what the government should do. And in this chapter, you're talking more about the marriage specifically, but it's also like how the religious freedom is mainly about that. That like people doesn't really like um, talk about the topic and religious, but mostly the marriage. So it's talks about how the state should all like respect religious beliefs and don't be so involved. It doesn't have to, because it really doesn't have to. That the marriage um, has been like more religious oriented, and you want to have benefits and all that from the insurance, or you can just do a partnership. Like the concept of marriage for religious people it's sacred. So you don't have to like to avoid conflict. You just don't have to like the government doesn't have to get involved into like making laws and forcing people to do like weddings, or take pictures, do flower arrangements, all those things. I mean, there is other ways to do it. It's just like, for me, it's just like, how can the other expect tolerance when they are not providing that tolerance to others? Like, it's just so contradicting. It is, they want fairness, but they're not giving fairness.
Yeah.
Respecting other people's beliefs.
Yeah.
I guess and I think like last week how we learned, like with that video from Kathy Ruse, how the American people, almost all the states voted for marriage to be between a man and a woman. But now that the judge has overruled that, the judges, and made it so it is a law, like same-sex marriage is a law, I don't know how we can fight against that without being against the law, without civil disobedience, or without seeming really discriminatory.
Right.
Because now it's wonder if it's the voice of the people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Okay, so you want to go to the second question, or you, like I said, share your insights. How do we address their parties' lawsuit?
Um,
I was so upset. Like, it
Julia.
made me really upset.
You can start this time, Julia.
Just the video of the old lady is like it's not like a new customer. You would understand, like a new customer. They don't know her, like, oh, he probably, if he wouldn't know her, he would think like, oh, she's just discriminating. But she said that they meet, they sorry, it is they have like a cordial relationship, so probably he knows what kind of lady she is, that she isn't really meant to discriminate. If she was, then she wouldn't have done it since the beginning. It was just about this specific uh, situation of marriage because it's a secret to her. And it's just like, why would you be like that? Like, have so much anger and so much, like, I think you let those feelings, get into your heart, your mind, your heart, and then you just want like, um, do like, you don't think about the damage that you're gonna cause to others just because you want what you think is justice for you. I mean, it's not like he wasn't gonna get married. It's not that he wasn't gonna get flowers. I mean, at this point, it feels like it's like my children, they just do a tantrum so they can get what they want. And it's just sad and frustrating to see that. And all the cases that the book talks about, like so many cases,
Mhm.
it's not, and it's just how you approach them is, and now there is a precedent. It's, like a lot of people now use like, oh, this judge ruled in favor, so now there's a precedent, so now they can take that and use it to just, sue anybody that they want.
Why do you think they do that? Like, I just don't get it. Why do they have to get involved like that? Like, yeah, it just makes you annoyed. I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know. Like,
I
is
feel
it
like
for the money or is it for like power purposes? Like, I just don't get it.
well, like for the Washington one, because it's like Julia said, it drove me nuts. Like she still provided flowers when they were dating, and then they go to get married, and she goes, I'm not comfortable with that. And I think if no one else had stepped in, they probably wouldn't have sued her business and her personally. It was someone else stepping in, going, "Hey, you should be offended
Yeah.
that they were." And I wrote in my post that I feel like if an attorney general is going to step in, like not to be cynical, but my thought goes to like, is it a re-election year? Are they trying to go for like a certain kind of like vote? Are they trying to say, hey, I care a lot about this and I'm going to make a big deal about this because maybe it's an issue going on? Because I don't know why else you would just step in unless you very
Yeah.
strongly felt that way about it. But I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of times people do these kind of things to like bring attention to themselves. And
Yeah, that's
I mean, they could really care about it. I don't know, but like it just seems they're doing it to further themselves a little bit more. And I don't know,
yeah.
I'm still confused on laws and stuff, but I'm like, how do you just show up and go, okay, I'm involved now. This is legally allowed. Like, I'm going to
Right.
do this.
Right.
I don't get that. But it drove me nuts. I was so mad watching that. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, it's just infuriating. Like, ugh.
I had no idea that was even legal. That you could read something on Facebook and sue the party when you're not,
Yeah.
when you have nothing to do with it. That was shocking to me. And I agree with Sydney. If that third party hadn't got involved, it would have been swept under the rug. They probably would have kept a good relationship and life would have moved on. And so I think that's scary, but I think there is a core group out there that watches and that is so determined to spread this agenda that, and I don't know who backs them, but they have a lot of money behind them
Mhm.
and a
Yeah.
lot of power. It's really scary.
Yeah, it is.
And that's
Yeah,
for
they should
any issue.
sorry.
No, I was just like, that's for any issue. I feel like you'll hear about someone saying, like, well, why can't this person marry a dog or something? Like, there's always someone like ready to back up some ridiculous problem that wouldn't have had attention anyways until someone else got involved. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think what's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say I really do think that a lot of it is for just attention, or they like to debate and fight with people. Like I have an aunt that she will just get into any argument, and it's like why? But it like fuels her. So I don't. Maybe that's what I don't know.
I don't know. It's just interesting how the minority is now ruling the majority. And our government was built to protect against that, to protect against special interests. And, anyways, I don't understand how everybody can just turn their heads as this is happening to our Constitution and to our laws. I don't know.
You know, right now I was thinking about the scripture that says that the adversary like to um, contention and how he likes to steer the hearts of men. And I think it's part of it. He is just working as saying so hard to destroy families and like the kind of happiness. Like he already did the abortion legal, now he did the marriage legal, and now he's fighting with religions, religious freedom. So he's using all that he can, and like they show talking about Joanne, how it fuels her. And I think the adversary is like putting those feelings, like, oh, it makes you feel superior or good, or even though you're like also the antichrist on the Book of Mormon. They say like, I knew that those things weren't true, but it make me feel something, so that's why I keep like lying and
Yeah.
preaching those things, even though I knew it wasn't true. But that feeling, it's kind of like a weird feeling that they may have, even though it's, they know it's not true, but because they make them feel good in a way. Probably I feel like, like drugs. I don't know how they feel, but
Yeah.
I imagine, like the feeling that they get, that's why they keep doing it, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like when they start like arguing and fighting and they get heated, whatever they feel, they just want to keep doing it. And that's what they
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
I just like thought about that while we're talking about contention.
Yeah, for
contention.
sure.
Okay, well, let's go to the next one. So what is the legal precedent for these lawsuits?
I don't know.
I wasn't sure about that either. It seems that the judge always backs the person with the most money, status, or the most threatening, loudest voice because they fear the repercussions. They don't want
Yeah.
side of history. They don't want people angry at them, and so I don't know. I don't know
I
what the
don't
precedent
know.
is.
I don't know if any of you watch Law and Order, but that seems to happen all the time. Where like the judge personally feels one way, but they don't want to get like I lost the word. They don't want to get all the negative stuff from like the community or go against the popular opinion, so they just back whatever is like easiest.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking, how they use a lot of like that the discrimination against blacks, they use it as a precedent, like, oh yeah, we don't want that to happen, when it's not really like that, but they try to use it and try to make the public think that, oh, that there is a precedent, and we're gonna, instead of uh, like progressing, we're going back to that time if we, allow people to discriminate or, like against the gay people, the gay community. We're gonna go back to that time, and I think they're using those precedents. Like all the like the they mentioned the Jim and Crow law, or I mean, that thing. So I think that those are, like I said, like once they win a case, then they start just rolling, like, okay, so we know we can win, so now we're gonna just keep doing it. So it's just
Yeah. I wonder if it's also just like easier to not go against. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing, but maybe it's just like, yeah, I don't want to get into this. Like, this is just going to cause lots of issues. So I'm just going to go this way. I don't know. I guess that goes with what you guys are saying too. So,
Well,
but yeah, that's how I felt.
to all these poor people and reading those stories, like that's terrifying now to think of standing up against these people because they're vicious. I don't know. It's scary.
I didn't even
and
realize
then
that
there's
was
a part of
happening.
me, but then there's a part of me that's like, what is the difference between these people advocating these things and then like those groups that like aren't, really like involved in the politics of it, but like they're also discriminating? And like, where is the line between discrimination? Is it just that you have a law behind you or not? Because like, sad fact from my family history, my dad's dad is in the KKK and we don't talk to him. But like, I vaguely remember as a kid all the stuff he would spat out, and I would just think that is so ridiculous. Like, why is this happening? And then in the reading this week, I'm like, there were laws about it, like backing up these beliefs. But like, where's the difference between like the KKK and then someone that's in local government or federal that's trying to spread the same thing? Like, that just, like you said, that is scary. That like that could be a law, and then now we have to find the correct way to like fight it, which is incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Any other thoughts before we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go to the next one. What threats should the LDS Church be concerned about? Adoption, religious schools, etc.
I
I
think.
re-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm cutting everyone off today.
Just go, Shay.
Okay, Rochelle, go.
Okay, so I just remember somewhere in the readings it talked about a religious school that, I don't know if this happened or they could lose their nonprofit tax status or something like that if they believe in marriage because it's discrimination. I can't remember where I read this, but I was just thinking, oh my gosh, like our church is religious and believes of man and woman. And I guess it's different maybe because of how we get funded. Anything could happen, but I just thought that was crazy that just because a school believes marriage is between a man and woman that they're going to get in trouble for that, or like basically go out of, not out of business, but like get run down, I guess. I don't know where I read that, but I just was like, that's kind of scary. Like, that's crazy. That's taking out a huge college just because of this belief. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, Rochelle, you want to go?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking along the same lines. I think we need to be concerned about all of them because we've already seen like the Catholic Charities and even LDS Services had to switch and had to change. They don't do adoption anymore. And yeah, I was thinking along those same lines as Shay. And I think the council to become self-reliant and to not rely on the government to have those things, because I feel like that is the biggest strong arm is finances, is that money. Like if you don't do this, you lose your funding. If you don't do this, you lose your tax exemption status. And I feel like if we're more self-reliant, we won't fear that. I don't know, that we'll be able to stand up better to these things, because I don't think they're going to stop until they've infiltrated every part of our system, every part of our lives. And that was what was so shocking at the oh gosh, what is that conference? The UN conference. They are not just trying to push it on America, they're trying to spread it through the whole world. And these religious countries that are fighting back are going to lose all their funding. Like, they're going to be cut off and be penalized. Anyways, it's a way bigger agenda than I've ever realized. So I don't know. I think we need to be concerned about all of it.
Yeah. That's just, it's crazy to me because I want to say up until like at least about 100 years ago that like believing in traditional marriage and all these other things were like the dominating belief. So I feel like it's switched so much, and like we said, like the minority is like making all these big decisions, and I find it so ironic that like we can be accepting of someone else's lifestyle, but the second we say we don't agree with it, we're like terrible people.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
But with the church, I don't know if they should be like super afraid, but I feel like they should be actively cautious, if nothing else, because it seems like every decision the church makes, even members are like ready to jump on it. Like the new mission changes that came out, how they were talking about how they're gonna not get rid of missions, but like combine them for resources. All these people in my ward were like, they're getting rid of missions and they're putting more on technology, and I'm like, not exactly, but so like it seems like every choice they make, there's opposition from everywhere. So I think I'm pretty sure the church has its own lawyers, and they're very aware of all the laws and rules, so that, like we said, we can. I don't know how the schools run, but I know there's a lot of like donors and things like that, and
Yeah.
so I think they're already kind of in that mindset of like pulling away a little bit and just being ready for anything. But
Yeah.
it's just sad how it does like affect stuff like adoption, because there's so many people that we're doing so much good with that and all these other steps. So, but I mean, the church always advocates like follow government, but like I like how they're like follow the government and the laws, but be self-reliant, like be prepared just in case. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that the church has a lot, or LDS church, and other churches too, have to like worry about a lot of stuff. Like, I guess like you mentioned, Shaw and Rochelle, they already had to get rid of the LDS adoption agency, so that was huge. So they now have to be worried about how the university, yeah, if they start trying like, oh no, they ask us to live according to their honor code, or the other one, conducts. I forgot the name. But like they're gonna be like, no, we want to go to the school, and just because to make a point, but not really like because they want to be in the school, in this school. And it just feel for me like, like it's, as a religion we have like beliefs. So if the people wants to be in a religion, they first want to agree with those beliefs. And I just don't understand why they fight so hard to be in a place where they don't agree with those beliefs. It's like, why do you want to be there if you don't agree? You want to change their beliefs to be there, then it's a different church. Go to a church that, instead of you trying to change a church beliefs, just go to a church or religion that agree with your beliefs. It's just like how they are trying to, just get their way however they want. And it's really concerning, like how the apostles lately in the last years have been focused on religious freedom, because it is gonna something is gonna happen, and they're always being prophetic about like, okay, we need to work on this, we need to work on this, just like the family proclamation, has been for the last 10 years, like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this. And now we see why we need to do all those things, why we need to, as a citizens, be strong and, like get involved in government and be knowledgeable of this and that, because of all the things that, are happening now. And now, they are focusing on freedom, religion, because something is going to happen. So we just need to get knowledgeable, get more involved, so that what happened with the judges, like, we're mentioning in the beginning, that they just overrule the majority, what the majority want, and we let it happen. Or, we didn't know what to do. It's like, because, the majority of us don't know how, laws work. So I guess it's just for us a matter of learning now, like from like the mistakes of the past or the presence, and to like, okay, what can we do now? How can we, organize and, support those laws, or create those laws, or all those things to protect our religious freedom. Yeah, that's what I think. Any other thoughts before we go to the last one? Okay, so let's go to the last one. So how can the justice system be so biased? So anybody wants to comment?
I just
Go ahead. Go, Shay.
my
Rochelle.
gosh, this is not my day. Okay. So I don't know if this really answers the question, but I think it was one of the last videos. It was about the Indiana, something with Indiana, and they were debating. Like, there was like the 4 guys. Anyways, and there was one guy that was like on our side, kind of, and then there was the 2 other guys that were like against him. And anyways, it was just so annoying watching them debate because the one guy that was protecting people's religious rights, or what? I'm trying to think of what.
So it was
Anyways, so like the one,
the reporter. It was the reporter, the guy from
yeah,
the book. One is the opposite,
yeah,
and a member of the board of the
yeah,
act, the religious act that they were discussing.
yes, exactly. Okay, so the one that was like protecting the book, I thought he had a great argument, and I don't know if it's just because I believed him, like, yeah, this is awesome. But then the guy that was opposing him, like, I just feel like he wouldn't budge, like he wasn't listening. He had his mind made up, and that's how it was. And so I think that a lot of people are like that, and that's what makes it kind of biased, is like their mind is set and they're not willing to listen. And he had a switch, but he could have been like, okay, I get what you're saying, but this is where I'm come from. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think a lot of people, even on our side, like, we're stuck to one thing and we're not going to listen to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Rochelle, do you want to go next?
Well, I agree with Shay. I think the justice system is biased mainly out of fear of the repercussions of the influential people who are behind this campaign. You see what happens to them, to their careers. I mean, if they stand up against this, the firefighter in New York who had like this outstanding career and all these credentials, he published his book like not just on his own personal time. He went through all the right avenues of checking before he had it published and all of that, and still he had all these terrible repercussions for saying in his book that he believed that marriage was between a man and a woman. And Mike Pence, the guy that they had on that video that you were talking about, they showed that clip, he was afraid to state clearly on the air his beliefs because he knew there would be terrible repercussions. Whether the people agree with him or not, this small group shuts them down so hard and comes at them so hard. And I just don't even know how to fix it. These people call good evil and evil good, and they're really doing a good job at brainwashing the majority to think, oh, well, maybe that is discrimination, and maybe we are wrong, and maybe everyone else does believe this way, and I'm the only one that's backwards. They make it seem like everybody's on board, even though there's only like 1.6% who are actually gay, but they're running the whole show. Anyways, I don't know how to fix it because I just feel like there's too much fear for anyone to really stand up against it.
Sydney, do you want to go?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like Julia said, where like stuff is being said and taught to us with like enough truth in it that we're kind of like, oh, maybe we're wrong, And I think it's biased because like we have different parties with different agendas, and some are more flexible than others, but this is why I can never be a lawyer. There's just so much like wiggle room, I guess, because you can find any law and find a way to kind of manipulate it to your cause or kind of back yourself up. So there's all these groups with different ideas trying to show that they're credible, which makes people believe them. And I think it's biased because they have the ability to influence and they're using it, but they're using it for what they believe, which does not represent the majority. And it's just because the majority doesn't have law degrees and doesn't get involved on these levels. And I can't remember where I read it, but I feel like the voting in general has gone down like every year, like the number of people who participate, and that's with more people, becoming old enough to vote. I just feel like in general, people have these really super strong opinions, but then are doing less and less and less. So it's like they're just ready to attack anything because that's maybe all they feel like they can do. But I mean, it's just like it's like what we've been saying. Like you're afraid to say anything because out of nowhere will come all these people, and they don't even have like legitimate reasons backing them up. They just have the loudest voice, and it gets across the furthest. So yeah, I don't know a good way to fix it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's sad to see, you know, the one uh like system, the justice system, just the name, you
Hmm.
know, that should be like that we can trust and we can rely on to really bring justice to see all, you know, like these bias things. It think it's, you know, yeah, it's influenced because they want the vote, because they want to please the community. And I think that, you know, what the last thing that the book was talking about was the CBS network and how, you know, like they were a big influence on how like the backslash for the act that it was discussing, the religious freedom act, um, and how it can make, you know, a big difference, a big impact, you know, like how with the social media, you know, the networks, wherever they want to focus, they do like so much marketing on it that is everywhere. You open up, you know, you turn on the TV is there, you turn your social media is there, in the radio, everything. It's like I feel that somebody also controls the news and they say, okay, this month or this week, when I focus on this, and everybody has to talk about this. And it does, and you know, people get like into their brains, and whatever they want us to believe, that's what they put, you know, like, and I think it's all marketing, you know, like they know how to get you now, you know, with so many experience in commercials. Like, okay, now you start like doubting, or if you're like, don't have a belief, you know, you don't know about it, then you're going to believe what they tell you to believe, you know, because you don't know better. And that's the majority of the people, because we don't get involved, we don't, you know, get educated, we don't really look at the sources of their information. We just like, oh, it's on the internet, so it must be true, you know, or, you know, they are saying the CBS News, so it must be true. And now we can see that there is so many like fake sources, or, you know, that they didn't really, they quote something, you know, like just what is convenient for them, but they didn't, if they read the whole context, it doesn't back up their point. So I think it's just it's going to take a lot of effort from the community, you know, for people to really feel the desire to get involved, because sometimes it's just easy not to do anything, you know, ignore, like, oh, it doesn't affect me, so I don't have to do anything. But until it happens to somebody, then, you know, then it wants to get involved, or they feel the need to get involved. So just us, once we know about this problem, I guess it's our responsibility to get involved in organizations, you know, with the government, vote, read the propositions before we vote, and just, you know, follow the prophets and apostle counsel about, you know, being active in our communities, just raising our voices.
I
That's what.
agree. I agree. I wish there was a way to do better studies, like social science studies. And I don't know if anybody would listen to them anyways, but I just think if we could show the truth of it, how this really does not benefit society, how these lifestyles and these unions promoting this isn't the same as the way it benefits society for a man and a woman and a family to have, and the destruction that's going to come from it. Just knowing firsthand, I have a brother who's gay, and he's in a treatment facility, and he says, you know, he meets with his gay men's group or whatever, and he said 8 out of 10 of those men have AIDS. And it's just nobody even blinks an eye at it. It's just part of the gay lifestyle, and they still sleep around and they still spread it, and it's not even a big deal. But none of this is talked about. Like, you have Modern Family. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that show. I mean, it's funny, it's easy to get sucked into, and the gay couple seems so nice, but they don't show the real picture of it. They don't show this underside of what comes. And I don't know how to go about that, but I feel like it's so deceptive, and that the truth isn't being told, and the studies aren't being shown, that there is actual evidence, you know, of the harm that comes to a society when this happens. And anyways, I wish there was a way to do more studies and to bring like the truth to light. So
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Does anybody have any other insights before we do the summary?
oh gosh, I forgot I was doing the summary.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Was there anything else?
Right.
Okay. So we talked about how to achieve fairness for all, and just talked about how that's a hard question just because of different perspectives, values, and definitions. But it's important to give everyone a voice, an equal voice, and even if you don't agree with them, to be able to respect that they have the right to speak what they think and what they feel, and to live how they believe. And so that would be the most fair for everyone. How do we address third-party lawsuits? And we just talked about how shocking it was that a third party could get involved, that somebody, you know, that doesn't even know you could jump into that. And I don't think we really came up with a consensus how to address that. But the legal precedent lawsuits, it seems that the judge always favors you know, the party with the most financial backing or the loudest, most threatening voice. And that now that there's precedents that judges have ruled in favor of these, then it's just easier to use those. You know, well, this has been done in the past, and this has been done, and just continue on with that as the precedent. What threat should the LDS Church be concerned about? We talked about how it should be concerned about all of those, about thinking about, you know, BYU and the religious schools, and losing tax exemption status and different things like that, that it's definitely something we should all be aware of, and, you know, to listen and follow the brethren and do what we can, because these changes, they are coming. And we talked about how the justice system can be so biased, and we talked about how it's, you know, a lot out of wanting the popular vote, and you know, people with a lot of money being influential, or, you know, the loudest voices, and how they, you know, don't want to look like bigots, they don't want to look like they're discriminating, and so sometimes it's easier just to take the safe route and to avoid the, you know, hostility and repercussions that come from these special interest groups or minority groups. So that was what we talked about. Is there anything you guys want to add to that?
No, that's good.
I thought you did good.
Thank you. I did take notes. All right. Oh, Julie, are you talking to us?
I totally forgot I muted. I said I think we're good for today.